800 hours, 75 degrees north. From space, the Arctic Ocean looks quiet, almost empty, an expanse of pale water and fractured ice that suggests nothing ever really happens here. That impression is dangerously wrong. In this part of the world, stillness is often the final warning. Off the frozen coast of Greenland, the USS Gerald R. Ford moves steadily through gray seas, its hull forcing apart drifting ice with the weight of a floating city. Every mile it advances carries strategic meaning. Every wake it leaves is being watched by something unseen. The sky offers no clues, the horizon gives nothing away, and for a brief moment, everything appears routine. Then a single alarm breaks the silence, and the Arctic reveals just how misleading its calm can be. Main body. A collision alarm screams across the carrier's decks. Not the slow, measured warning of navigation danger, but a frantic, continuous howl. Inside the Combat Information Center, Aegis consoles erupt in cascading faults. Screens flash, go black, reboot, and return bleeding red error codes. Satellite uplinks vanish. Link 16 collapses into silence. The digital nervous system of the most advanced warship on Earth begins to fail all at once. On the carrier's island, backup optical sensors swivel into position, fighting through dense Arctic fog. 40 kilometers out, something massive tears through the cold air at sea-skimming altitude. The thermal bloom is unmistakable. It is not a drone. It is a weapon designed for one purpose only. A Russian Zircon hypersonic anti-ship missile is inbound. Mach 9, hugging the surface of the ocean. 14 seconds to impact. Without radar guidance, the carrier's close-in weapon systems are blind. Phalanx cannons track nothing but noise. In those seconds, the USS Gerald R. Ford, a $13 billion symbol of American naval dominance, feels suddenly alive. 5,000 sailors wait aboard a vessel that, for the first time, feels less like a fortress and more like a floating target. This moment unfolds in the heart of Operation Arctic Sentinel, a US-led mission designed to break Russian pressure on the Greenland-Iceland-UK gap and safeguard a critical polar radar installation. Washington expected resistance. What it did not expect was invisibility weaponized at this scale. Moscow has transformed international waters into an electronic dead zone, a place where sensors lie and data betrays those who trust it. The missile is not the beginning. It is the punctuation mark at the end of a much larger sentence, one written 12 hours earlier. Pentagon surveillance assets had detected unusual activity across the Kola Peninsula. Russia was quietly activating a vast electronic warfare network tied to the Murmansk BN system. Analysts quickly realized this was not defensive posturing. The electronic curtain wasn't meant to block NATO. It was meant to hide something else entirely. Behind that curtain, Russia was running a large-scale strategic missile exercise uncomfortably close to NATO's northern early warning infrastructure. The exercise directly threatened the integrity of polar detection systems that form the backbone of Western missile defense. Allowing that exercise to proceed unchallenged would mean accepting blindness at the edge of the world. So Carrier Strike Group 12 moved. The USS Gerald R. Ford, escorted by destroyers and submarines, advanced into Greenland-adjacent waters with deliberate speed. U.S. destroyers shifted their AN/SLQ 32 electronic warfare suites into passive triangulation mode, listening rather than shouting, tracing Russian emissions without exposing themselves. Every move was calculated, every signal was measured. Russia was waiting. The moment the American strike group crossed an invisible line, the trap snapped shut. On the Kola Peninsula, Russia activated the Peresvet ground-based laser system. A concentrated beam surged upward, striking US KH-11 reconnaissance satellites as they passed overhead. The effect wasn't destruction, it was blindness. Optical sensors were temporarily overwhelmed, leaving American commanders staring into darkness. At the same time, Murmansk BN electronic warfare nodes, hidden aboard autonomous ice stations scattered across the Arctic, came alive. They fired synchronized radio energy into the ionosphere. A geomagnetic storm, already brewing, did the rest. The upper atmosphere became a vast reflective surface, bending radar energy back toward the sea from thousands of false angles. The result was catastrophic. Aegis systems aboard U.S. ships flooded with phantom contacts. 500, then thousands. Targets appeared racing in from every direction at impossible speeds. Mach 10, Mach 12. Ghosts born of physics and deception. GPS signals broken. Communications dissolved into static. Even internal logistics networks were hit, infiltrated through maritime sensor arrays and corrupted from within. In less than 60 seconds, that the most powerful naval formation on Earth was electronically isolated. And then came the real missile. Refusing to wait for destruction, the U.S. commander made a choice that would decide the battle's trajectory. MCON Alpha was ordered. Total emission control. The carrier's catapults thundered to life as EEA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft launched into the black Arctic sky. Their mission was simple in concept and brutal in execution. Find the source of the jamming and destroy it. Flying barely 30 meters above the sea, the Growlers used the curvature of the Earth and chaotic wave patterns to mask their approach. Their AN/ALQ 218 passive sensors drank in the electromagnetic chaos, separating signal from noise. Within 45 seconds, the system resolved 3 primary jamming sources. They weren't on land. They were drifting icebergs, massive, slow-moving platforms camouflaged to look natural, each hiding powerful Murmansk BN transmitters. The Growler squadron leader did not hesitate. A GM-88 anti-radiation missiles dropped from their pylons and ignited, streaking into the night. The Arctic horizon bloomed with fire as all 3 platforms were torn apart. The ionospheric mirror collapsed instantly. On Aegis screens, the ghosts vanished. Communications returned. Tactical clarity snapped back into place. For a brief moment, it looked like the United States had broken free. That moment was exactly what Russia had been waiting for. High above the battle, Su-57 Felon stealth fighters had been loitering in silence, their sensors tracking the heat signatures of American missile launches. At altitude, so they released R-37M long-range air-to-air missiles toward the E-2D Hawkeye aircraft, coordinating the U.S. air picture. The missiles flew silently, guided by infrared and passive tracking. American warning systems remained quiet until the final seconds. Losing the Hawkeye would mean losing the eyes of the fleet. To shield the Growlers, the U.S. committed its stealth edge. F-35C fighters surged forward, accompanied by XQ-58 Valkyrie autonomous drones. The formation was tight, lethal, and vulnerable. Russia countered with an unexpected weapon. A 22 PP electronic warfare aircraft began emitting high-power microwave pulses aimed not at radar, but at data links. The energy overwhelmed Valkyrie transceivers, corrupting their processing systems. Friend or foe identification inverted. In a horrifying instant, the drones identified their own escorts as enemies. Weapons bays began to open. Only instantaneous human reaction prevented catastrophe. F-35 pilots severed the drones from the network just in time. The drones went dark, but the formation shattered. Russian Su-57s dove from above, exploiting the chaos with ruthless efficiency. Then the sea itself joined the fight. From the fog, dozens of small objects surged toward the American fleet. Surface radar struggled to track them amid ice clutter. These were not traditional explosive boats. They were Morena M unmanned surface vessels, semi-submersible platforms, exposing only a small sensor mast above the waves. Coated in radar-absorbing materials and riding 4-meter swells, they were nearly invisible. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer moved to intercept, activating the Helios high-energy laser system. 60 kilowatts of focused light lanced toward the incoming swarm. In theory, the system was unstoppable. The Arctic had other plans. Freezing fog filled with suspended ice crystals scattered the laser's energy. The beam lost nearly all effectiveness before reaching its targets. Advanced technology met raw physics, and physics won. Forced into conventional defense, American gunners opened fire. Most of the drones were destroyed. One was not. It slammed into the destroyer's stern at the waterline. The blast did not sink the ship, but it severed the towed array sonar. The fleet's most sensitive underwater detection system went silent. That silence was the signal. Deep below, the Yasen M-class nuclear attack submarine K-571 Krasnoyarsk began its approach. The Russian submarine released acoustic decoys, simulating multiple attackers. The USS Colorado, a Virginia-class submarine escorting the carrier, detected 4 threats and reacted instantly. Mk-48 torpedoes were launched. That reaction revealed everything. From the acoustic shadow, the Yasen M fired a super-quiet electric torpedo. Detection came too late. The Colorado dove hard, deploying countermeasures and barely escaping. But it was forced out of position. The carrier was now exposed. 2 Zircon missiles erupted from the sea, accelerating instantly to hypersonic speed. Plasma enveloped them, burning white-hot through the sky. Russia gambled on speed. The US answered with integration. As radar faltered, infrared tracking took over. Helios lasers fired again, this time not to destroy, but to blind. Guidance sensors on the missiles were overwhelmed in their terminal phase. Simultaneously, Nulka decoys deployed, projecting massive false signatures. At Mach 9, the missiles couldn't recover. They swung off and slammed into the ocean less than 2 kilometers from the carrier. The gamble failed. Below the surface, the USS Colorado returned. Engines silent, drifting into position, confirming target data through magnetic anomaly detection. A single Mk-48 torpedo was launched in wake-homing mode. It detonated beside the Yasen M's propeller. The submarine survived, but only barely. Its propulsion was crippled. Buoyancy systems failed. The crew was forced to surface to avoid implosion. As Arctic dawn broke, the Russian submarine floated helplessly within range of US guns. In the air, Russian fighters, out of fuel, out of support, out of options, signaled surrender and withdrew under escort. Operation Arctic Sentinel was over. The radar station stood protected. Zircon signatures were captured. Yasen acoustic profiles were recorded, and the Arctic had revealed its new reality. This was no longer a frozen backwater. It was the most dangerous battlefield on Earth. Outro. If this analysis helped you see how modern warfare is being rewritten in places most people never think about, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, because the next major confrontation may already be unfolding beyond the edge of the map.